Welcome to the Wisdom Lifestyle Money Show. I'm your host, Scott Dillingham. The show is designed to help Canadians invest better in Canada and the United States. We specialize in mortgage financing and education in both countries. Discover how you can become a better investor and access the financing you need. Welcome to the Wisdom Lifestyle Money Show. I'm your host, Scott Dillingham. Today, I have Rhys Trenhaile from the Vanguard team at Manor Realty with us, talking commercial real estate in and around Windsor, Essex County. How's it going, Rhys?
Yeah, good. Got my coffee. Ready, Scott?
Awesome. Yeah, me too. And I'm excited to chat because not only are we talking about real estate, and everybody can talk about real estate, but I think what's super important about what you do is you actually specialize in working with investors. And not only are you a commercial investor yourself, right?
Yeah.
You sell to clients. So I think that's super important for any client or person who's listening. You always want to work with people who are doing what they sell,
Yeah.
because if they're not, there's a lot of risks involved with that. So how did it start? Like, how did you get into the commercial real estate space?
So before I was a real estate agent, so I was in university, and a very long story short, I ran track and field at the university, and one of the guys bought a student rental property. And we would go on these long runs training together, and we would ask tons of questions. So by the time we won a national championship, and I'm going to date myself here, but we won a national championship in 1998. And by then, 5 guys owned 7 student rental properties and 2 racehorses at the racetrack.
Nice. That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. So I got the bug early to be a landlord. I was literally in university renting out to university students, which is a bit weird. But a bunch of us were doing it, so it didn't feel so weird. And a lot of those guys have gone on to great wealth with real estate investment. Like, one's already retired at 48 years old, you know.
Nice.
So that's where it started. And then I went through university. I became a lawyer. I never practiced. I got called to the bar, and I was going to go work at this law firm. And long story short, they gave the job to somebody else because they had to wait for me to get called to the bar for 4 months. And I
Okay.
looked at it as, don't worry about it. There's a reason why, right? There's a
Mhm.
reason why. And a lot of it was my buddies were all tradesmen. They didn't have to go to school for 7 years. And they were already making at the time between 60 grand and 120 grand a year, which would be like 100 grand to 200 grand a year now.
Hmm.
And I'm like, they want to start me at 42,000 as a lawyer. I'm like, I can't make less than my buddies. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Working CNC machinist. It's not because
absolutely.
that's a bad profession. I love those professions, but man, I'm a
You'd
lawyer,
never hear
man.
the end of it.
I'm a
Yeah,
lawyer.
you'd never hear the end of it.
Oh, I know. So that's when another lawyer suggested, he was already selling real estate. He said, Rhys, you're a natural salesperson. You should sell real estate. I was like, I'm already really interested in real estate. The real estate law, when I was articling at McTague Law Firm, I was really interested in it. You know, I own
Mhm.
student rental properties. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that led to me getting my real estate license. And people don't realize that you use that law degree every single day as a real estate
Mhm.
agent, because you're able to negotiate more complex transactions than the average agent, right? So you're trained to do,
Yeah.
for 3 stinking years, plus articling for another year. So that's how that all happened. That was the evolution into that guy. And then over the last 21 years, I've become a better and better investor. We pass on that information to the client base to make them better investors. And essentially everybody that invests with us, one of the property managers that we use, one of the contractors that we also use, one of the mortgage specialists like you that we use, right? Like
Mhm.
Steve Druge on our team right now is getting some stuff done with you.
Yeah.
And in essence, and this is hard, this is harder, I think, for Windsorites than the out of town Toronto investor to understand, is that we practice what we preach. So we now have clients, because I've been doing this for 21 years. We now have clients that are retired. They've sold off all the income properties. They've bought a multi-million-dollar house on a lake, and they're done. And that's
Mhm.
plural. There's more than one of those guys that has just done that, right?
Yeah.
And for myself, yeah, like I'm living quite well, but I'm not living quite well because of my real estate commissions. It's because of how I converted my active income into passive income through real estate investment. And again,
Yeah.
Steve Druge on the team, and I know Steve doesn't mind me saying this. Steve's got a Lamborghini, right? Steve was the
Yeah.
first guy in town with the new Lotus.
Yeah.
That, like, we practice what we preach. So when somebody on Facebook goes, "Oh, all you real estate agents say the same thing," it's just I just want to go whack.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Give him a little smack.
Well,
Yeah.
so one of my posts, one of my videos I just did with Sadie. Let me see if I can find it here on Facebook. When I just did a video with Sadie and I posted it. Sadie Morrow on our team, guys. She sells more high-rise condos than anybody because of how many she sells to investors. She also does new builds. You want to do a new build, one of these federal pre-approved sixplex designs, you go to Sadie, right? Sadie's in the familia. Like her whole family's construction. Everybody knows her down at City Hall or Amherstburg's Town Hall. They all love dealing with her. That's how you get things done and built. Yeah, let me see if I can find this here. Because the
Now, I
point
gotta
of,
talk to her about the CMHC stuff. Just thinking out loud, because if she's building 6 units, we can do up to 95% loan to value.
well, there you, so
Just
we're
massive.
trying
Yeah.
we're trying to find enough people that want to build those on the infill lots. I don't think people realize how easy that's getting now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even dealing with the bureaucrats down at City Hall, when I started doing some major projects, guys, I got about $100 million of projects going on downtown Windsor right now, converting old buildings from commercial use to residential use on the upper floors. A lot of money for it at the three levels of government. But boy, oh boy, Scotty, when we had to start dealing with the bureaucracy, you're talking 4 years ago, you had to submit the same document 5 or 6 times. And
Mm-hmm.
you never knew who was holding up your file. You couldn't tell. It was insane. Now it's all cloud permitting. Now you have a development assistant coordinator. So not only do I have to only submit the same documents once, I can see who's holding up my file. And then I can tell my development assistant coordinator, he's an awesome human being. Can you see why this guy in public works, this person in heritage hasn't done their job yet? And I tell you what, Scott, 8 times out of 10, I got a response and that bottleneck's gone within 24
Yeah.
hours. Like, and people didn't believe me.
That's
I'm
incredible. Yeah.
like, it is it's still got a lot of work to go. And there's still a ton of work to go. Like the NIMBYism that's embedded into the zoning and stuff is ridiculous. It's causing the
Mm-hmm.
homeless. Like, it's just so dumb. But they've probably sped up the process, I would say, by half. It used to take
That's
2 years
incredible.
to get something like that done. Now it takes a year, which is totally reasonable. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not
No,
bad at
that's
all.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's incredible. And what we're going to do for everybody who's listening too is we're going to have multiple segments because Reese and his team collectively, there's a wealth of advice
sure.
from different aspects. But I think that it's really cool just to talk about your story in the sense, Reese, as sort of the starting episode with you and your team, is just that, like you said, right? You're running track and considering and talking about student rentals, right? And then it goes from there to how many units like is the Canada building just for fun for people listening?
67 residential to retail. Yeah,
See, that's
yeah,
massive, right? So
yeah.
anybody can get there, right? If you've got the right team and the right expertise and experience there. And so I love that story, right? Because people just getting started, they're discouraged about buying property number two,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Where you're on a like completely different level, but it's years of persistence and
The
not
first
giving
one's
up.
the
And
hardest one, though, I find for
yeah,
investors, especially if they've never taken a calculated risk in their lives. If they've been an employee their entire adult lives, that it's the mental side that they struggle with the most, which is learning to take small calculated risks with your money.
yeah,
They really struggle with it unless you point it out and they become conscious of it. That's a big one. I'm surprised you said the
yeah.
second one because really we find it's the first one. If we get the first one done, you get them settled in and the fear goes away, the questions go away, and now they can focus on building up the portfolio. And usually it's like the third or fourth one where you get your first steal. And
Mm-hmm.
people go, "Oh, why can't I get a steal the first one?" It's because you don't even know what a steal is yet. And even if
Yeah.
you do know it's a steal, You can't move fast enough. You're scared. You got a million questions. The veteran investor, he's going to go, oh, steal. Rhys, write it up.
Yeah.
Being conditional for a day. I just got to make sure I get my financing. You can't compete with that as a rookie investor.
Yeah.
So you're not going to
It's
get a steal 99 times out of 100 as your first property. Probably not your second property, but by your third, you should start because now you're ready. You know what to look for. You know what a steal is. You're mentally ready. You're financially ready because you've already been dealing with Scott. Scott likes you. He trusts you. You trust him. You trust your real estate agent because they've been making you wealthy. Boom. That's when it starts kicking in. Everybody wants to hit a home, well, not everybody, but a lot of people want to hit a home run their first time. It's like you're dreaming. You're
yeah.
dreaming. You're not going to beat me
Steps.
on a steal.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for too long. I'm too quick. I'm too
Yeah.
qualified. I'm ready to go. And
Yeah.
I'll get back off my
You
soapbox, Scotty. But
No, no, no. You're right though, but
fired
you're
up.
you're right about the mindset. You're right about the mindset. I see that a
Yeah.
lot. But I think the reason why I'm saying deal two is the hardest is because sometimes we see a lot of investors that will say, maybe they'll move into a duplex, right? And that's their first investment. So they're renting out one side, they're offsetting, and then they're going to move into another one. So they're leveraging the 5% down programs that are available,
Yeah.
right? But once you're on deal two or three or four, right, and those 5% options disappear,
Oh, I see.
then it's
Okay.
now you need to bring money into the deal, right? And then that's where we're seeing the traction slow for a
Well,
bit.
see, but this is where I think a good partnership between real estate agents that know what they're doing with income properties and financial experts like you guys with income properties comes in handy because we can avoid those roadblocks. If we know you're going to roadblock by the second one, we're not going to want to sell you a traditional duplex if we know that's going to be it for the next 4 or 5 years. You're stuck at that
Mhm.
point, right? What we would suggest instead is you buy a house where you can put a mother-in-law suite into the basement, right? There's
Yeah.
4 different types of additional dwelling units, guys. There's the basement one, that's the cheapest. The second and third cheapest are the addition on the back of the house or the detached garage. The most expensive one, which everybody wants to talk about until they're blue in the face, is the detached unit in the backyard. I don't
Mhm.
know why that is the focus with ADUs. Like, it is the most expensive of the 4 options. You want to find a
Mhm.
house that's got a good basement with a side exit or a back door exit. You pop a mother-in-law suite in there. Now you've juiced your property value up and you can refinance. You can rent out both units. Now you're cash flowing over $1,000 a month. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Way more than a duplex. And now you can refinance that sucker and get most, if not all, of your money back out to do the next one with Scott. Right.
Yeah.
And you can, it's called BRRRR strategy. You buy, you renovate, you rent, you refinance, you repeat. It's just
Yeah.
a circle.
And to further add to that, and you nailed it actually, and that's what we tell investors to do. And from the financing standpoint, we'll structure it as a mortgage plus improvements.
Yeah.
So we'll actually have the lender give the client the money for rentals, so they're not using it all themselves.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
by forcing that appreciation, like you said, you can then refinance faster, and you've got
And
funds.
by the way, I wanted to prove that I wasn't just another Johnny come lately real estate agent saying the same damn thing. So we just did a video, me and Sadie, on YouTube, and one of the guys said, hold on. One of the guys said, it's a doctor investor. I'm, and he's not our, we're just winning him over from another group. I'm not going to say who, but this was his comment. And this won him to us earlier this week. I'm more impressed with the flat out honesty. I don't buy condos. Or don't buy condos is something I never thought I'd hear from a salesman, period. What he's talking about is we identified only 3 good condos to buy as income properties out of 179 currently for sale.
Okay.
So what he heard in that message, which was not what I was trying to convey, was most condos don't invest in them.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to Sadie, you want to get one of these 3. And it's like that on a regular basis right now. So what I was
Yeah.
trying to convey was Sadie really knows what she's doing. She really knows what properties to put you in. Like, there's a lot of condo buildings you do not want to invest in. They're not run well, right?
Yeah.
They're behind on the reserve funds, or there's a huge engineering thing coming up. But also, like, which ones actually cash flow? Which ones are going to be nice, steady investments for that doctor, for that accountant? The professionals, they got to be able to sleep at night. You can't sell them a fourplex in a poor area of town. You just
Exactly.
can't do that to them. So anyway, I just wanted to point out, right, that that's what it is. And I said back to this guy, I said, if you invest with us, we treat you like an adult. We give you the good, the bad, the ugly. We let you make a sound decision. We provide the same advice we use ourselves. And well, we now have teammates with Lamborghinis. We have clients retired on Manchester Lakes. And yet people will still get on Facebook and tell us we don't know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If
Those
you
are the
want to get
haters, though.
wealthy with
Yeah.
cash flowing properties in a major city in Ontario, I'm telling you, this is it. You got Scott for the finance and you got us for the sales. And we're not going to lead you astray. We even have a human greed factor in you getting you wealthy. The more income properties you buy, the more commissions we get to buy our own income properties. So your success is more money for us. So why on earth would we want to sell you a junker? As soon as we sell you a junker, it's over. We won't be able to sell you anything else, even if you stick with us for another 4 or 5 years, because you're
Yeah.
stuck. We don't
People
want
don't
you to
think of
get
that.
stuck. We want you to get
Yeah.
wealthy. So you're buying more and more and more, faster and faster and faster, bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So there is a capitalist pig greed interest there as well, man. So we're here.
Yeah.
We're here. Scott's here. Guys, I don't know. Not too many people don't get it, buddy. Too many people don't
For
get it. That's
sure.
why I may be yelling a little bit. Trying to get through to at
Yeah.
least
No,
a couple people on your podcast, bud.
that's okay, but it's true. It's true. There's so many realtors that are just looking at getting, as bad as it sounds, food on their table now. They're
Oh
not
yeah, the
looking at building
hungry.
those long-term
Yeah.
relationships. Yeah,
Well, we
it's
just we just got yeah. I'm not gonna get into it, but yes.
there's people out there
Yeah.
that are like that, right?
Yeah,
And
I don't want to
and when
call
you hire
anybody
them
out
as
on
a
your podcast, but yeah, it's
yeah,
far too common, far too common.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And a
it kills me.
realtor will never they'll never tell you that. But I know just from your team's track record and how long you've been in business,
Well,
it's
and I
not
can
how you
tell you,
guys
there's
operate.
only like one other real estate agent doing income properties in Windsor that doesn't bleed out clients to us because they're doing that to their clients either through their own sort of inexperience or maybe they're not landlords themselves, so they don't know the nuance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it's constantly like the only time we see that bum tenant, that's not paying rent for 6 months, and then we got to unravel that. The only time we ever see that is when we inherit a client from somebody else, and we got to
Yeah.
solve the problem. We didn't create the problem, man, but then we got to solve it. And if you can pull the thorn out of the tiger's paw, then they're clients for life, right? So we always work hard at those.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
awesome. No,
yeah,
I love it. I love it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna cut for today
yeah,
because we are over time a little bit. But guys, we're gonna have Rhys on. We're gonna have him bring his energy, his team on again. We're gonna talk more about the commercial properties, stuff about the team. I'd love to hear about Sadie's sixplexes she's doing, right? Because again, those programs
yeah.
you can finance up to 95%, which is just massive.
Well, we'll get Sadie on, man. You know,
Yeah.
now that you have those pre-approved designs from the federal government, what that ultimately means, guys, is the local bureaucrats can't stop you from building it. If you're zoned
Yeah.
for it, step aside, boys. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got my pre-approval from the federal government. Right? What are they going to do? Nothing. They can't do
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I just got one, client confidentiality, so I won't give names or addresses, but triplex in Southwood Lakes. And Southwood Lakes, they don't have triplexes there.
No.
But he's got it approved and he's starting to build. And I'm like, wow. So that's because government, right? Doug Ford saying, yes, you can build three units now, right? Everywhere. And that is
It's
helping in
only a
this
matter of
case,
time
right?
before the provincial government has fourplex as a right because we tend to follow British Columbia. And
Yeah.
British Columbia brought it in, I think, about 8 months ago. And we tend to lag
Nice.
behind BC, but we tend to adopt. And hopefully, this is a story for another podcast. Hopefully, we adopt what British Columbia did with their landlord tenant tribunal.
Hopefully.
Let's talk about that next time. That's a really good
Yeah,
topic. If anybody
for
wants to hear
sure.
more about that, because Scotty's got to hang up the phone here, guys. Just message me and I'll send you the video we did on that recently on our YouTube channel. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So you're right. We do got to run, but how do they message you? How does somebody reach out to you?
Well, I don't know how this works, man. Can you link our YouTube channel
Yeah.
and our
I'll
Facebook and
link it in the
Instagram?
show notes.
Yeah.
but you can state it here as well for those that are listening in the car.
Yeah. So anybody who's listening verbally, the easiest way to reach out to us is through our website, thevanguardteam.com, right? The THE
Nice and
van,
easy.
like a car, guard, stand on guard for the team. There's no I in
Yeah,
team.com. There you go. Might
that's
have
awesome.
said it like that before.
Yeah, well, I've got a son who's like 10 and he's into anime. So whenever I hear Vanguard, I think of like these robots with shields and massive protectors. And
That's
I feel
right.
like
That's
that's what
right.
you guys are for the investors.
Well, so the Vanguard is also the lead ship in a convoy.
Okay,
So I
nice.
do like to think, I mean, we were the first sort of modern real estate team in the city, which somebody
Okay,
reminded me of the other day. I hadn't thought about it in a while, but yeah, like we've been a team in a modern sort of North American sense for 20 years. You know,
that's awesome. It's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Incredible. Awesome. Well, sounds good. Thanks so much, Rhys. Great having you on. We'll put your details in the show notes as well for everybody. And stay tuned for the next episode, guys.
All right, thanks for having me on, pal. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All
Take
right,
care.
all right, man.
Welcome to the Wisdom Lifestyle Money Show. I'm your host, Scott Dillingham. The show is designed to help Canadians invest better in Canada and the United States. We specialize in mortgage financing and education in both countries. Discover how you can become a better investor and access the financing you need.